It is, okay. Okay, so what I want to cover now is I want to quickly talk about what we're doing here, which is a right to be heard. So here, this is an example of an indigenous poem. Okay, first thing first, number one. Okay, what do we do? Number. So I'm gonna use a hashtag to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, why do we do that? So we can refer to the lines as we go through. Okay, okay. So if we look at a right to be heard, it's already making a statement. And when we talk about indigenous poems, not all of the time, but most of the time, it will be some kind of something political in the sense of, okay, what about Australia's history? You need to consider the stolen generation, how they were treated in the past, discrimination, similar to Black Lives Matters now, right? Yeah, context. You can say that context. But this is right now, right? So normally we talk about Shakespeare 300 years ago. Right now, how are they treated? How were they treated? And what kind of rights would they be talking about? As long as you understand your issue, we can begin. Number two is themes or ideas. So in the time you guys should already have read through, I'm going to read it through quickly. A right to be heard, not censored of a word. A voice that is true, not a momentary view. A word that is said, it remains in our heads of value that's true in both me and you. It signals the start from deep in our hearts. A sentence recalls from the big to the small. It flows like a stream. I have a dream. Wow. So you already have, as Harry asked about before, isn't I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King? It is. And if you knew your history, you'd know what it was about. Now, if we go through this, we're talking about structure today. So I'm going to start off with analyzing for structure. Okay, so firstly, heard, word. Next, what do we have? True, view. Next, we have said, head. Next, we have, again, true and you. Next, we have starts and hearts. Good. And then we have recalls, small. And lastly, we have stream and a dream. I Have a Dream is a particularly it's a unique one. It's a special one. Hey, it's a special one because it relates to Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream." Okay, but we're not going to do that yet. Firstly, we need to talk about the rhyme scheme, which is, as you guys can see, it is an A B A B A B A B rhyme scheme, right? A B A B A B. Oh, I mean, sorry. I lied there. It is an A B B C C. Yeah. Okay, so this is the rhyme scheme. And do you guys remember what AA is called? So what are these two called? We have, it starts with R and C. What is it called? R and C is rhyming couplet. Okay, so that's how we'll talk about them. Okay, so a couplet is two things together. A rhyming couplet is heard, word, true, view. It's just the two words, okay? That give you the rhyme. Okay, a right to be heard, not censored of word. What do you guys think the central idea is in this? So now we need to talk about what the central idea by Mrs. Or Mr. Quackerwood in Mackay, Queensland. What is the central idea of this text? So Quackerwood examines, or no, he challenges the issue of, what do you guys think the poem is talking about? What is the challenge? So what is the themes? Do you guys want to tell me the themes? Yeah, Soji? Yeah. Well, the issue is not Aboriginal people, but the issue of... So I'm going to talk about issues or themes or ideas, okay? And this is very prominent in... Yeah, okay. So this is the main ideas that we'll be talking about. And when you get the Aboriginal text you have, it'll be similar. If it's in terms of issues, they typically talk about rights. So human rights, racial discrimination. What else is there? Social discrimination. What else is there? What'd you say, Harry? Discrimination. Okay, what else is there? In this one, it talks about, and then we can talk about the idea of stolen generation, right? Justice. These are all prominent issues of Indigenous rights that will typically be discussed. Yes? What'd you say, Harry? I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about in general, Harry. Is that okay? Okay. So in general, these are the issues you get. What about themes and ideas of Indigenous poems? So this is what you might get in your text of focus. The ones you might get is nature. Okay, Aboriginals and Indigenous Australians, they value very strongly how their relationship with nature is manifested. So, for example, you might know about the rainbow serpent. I learned that when I was in high school, or the rabbit-proof fence, or whatever. Or yeah, I was in high school as well. So nature, okay, and this might be manifested in several things. For example, they use a lot of animal imagery. Okay, so the rainbow serpent is one. Okay, what else is there? What other themes can you get with Aboriginals? You can get spiritual, so spiritual stuff. Aboriginals have a very strong emotional attachment to how the spiritual realm relates to them. For example, they talk about witches, right? Do you remember how they believed in their own sense of witchery, which was, they had the witch keeper or something of every tribe when they would try to ward off the bad spirits, right? And when the white people from England came to Australia, they thought, oh, these people are ghosts because when you die, you turn white, right? So the spiritual aspect of Aboriginal people that becomes a very valuable theme as well when you're discussing. What else is there? Let's talk about nature, spirit. They talk a lot about family. Okay, so to Aboriginal people, family is very important. I'm not going to ramble on here, but you can see how this kind of stuff, the themes and ideas, really when you violate these themes and ideas. When you break nature, they'll talk about how nature is broken. When you break spirit, they'll talk about how they disrespected their ancestry. When you talk about family, you're getting kidnapped. They talk about how we got kidnapped, right? The stolen generation. Exactly, exactly. So, and then we'll talk about pollution, etc., etc. Okay. So this is just the general ideas you get. Quacker, in this one, what are they talking about? I'm gonna zoom in so you can see. Censored or off word. Okay, censored is when you block out. Okay, so yeah, block out. So when you block out something that's negative word. Okay, a right to be heard, not censored of word. A right. Right is a something where you call a human right is something that you should be afforded. You're entitled to. For example, you guys all have the human right of speech, freedom of speech, right? You can say whatever you want, even if I don't like it. You still have the freedom of speech. You're not a slave. You have the freedom of health, right? You have the right to health. You have the right to love. You have the right to safety, whatever. To them, they want to say, we do not have the right of freedom of speech, okay? They say that there's a big thing about voice, okay? Not a momentary view. A voice that is true, not a momentary view. This rhyming couplet now discusses how they feel like their voices are not heard. So what they complain about, what they feel like is unjust, is not heard. So it's a momentary review. We don't want a momentary review. We want our voices to be permanently heard, to be valued like everybody else. So what this is talking about is injustice. It's talking about inequality. Next, a word that is said, it remains in our heads. Okay, so what is it saying? It's talking about how maybe we said sorry to these Aboriginal people. For example, in 2007, when Kevin Rudd, which was our previous Prime Minister, came on, he invented something called Sorry Day. Have you guys heard of it? It is where we apologize for whatever happened in the past for these Aboriginal people to maybe feel recognition and acknowledgement. Okay? So a word that is said, it remains in our head. So it's talking about how good things you say will remain to them. They'll keep it straight to their heart. And if you say something bad to them, they'll remember it as well. Of value that is true in both me and you. What is this saying? It's not saying we are all the same, right? It's talking about racial discrimination, where this typically only happens. Racism is about when people feel like one person or one group is superior to another, right? This sentence is saying, okay, we're all the same. A word that is said, it remains in our heads of value that's true in both me and you. So we're the same, we're of equal value. Okay? Next. It signals from the start, from deep in our hearts, a sentence recalls from the big to the small. Okay? It signals the start from deep in our hearts. What is it saying here? It is saying that um, ever since the beginning, they were the originals. You can say that. It should stay consistent though. It should stay consistent. So if this was talking about the sorry day, you can say a sentence recalls from the big to the small. It signals a start from deep in the heart. So you can say how a sentence of sorry, I apologize, can deep in their hearts signal the start of a friendship or a relationship between the Aboriginals and the rest. Yeah, a fresh start. You can say how these two rhyming couplets relate to a fresh start. And finally, it flows like a stream. I have a dream. If you know a bit of history about Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream," it was a speech actually, which is about how America used to have slaves, and this Martin Luther King was an advocate, to release. Yeah, they did, but in America it was very recent. For example, it was only a couple of decades ago. Did you know that? Yeah, it was actually very recent, whereas Australia has been maybe 300 years already. Um, So I have a dream. So this is a type of symbolism, right? A symbolism of using another poem to relate the ideas, which is America's discrimination of racism and social inequality is just like that in Australia, right? It flows like a stream. I have a dream. Okay. So what is the idea being discussed? Quackerwood, whatever how you pronounce it, Quackerwood discusses the challenges, or Quackerwood challenges the issue of racial discrimination. You can also say or social inequality, or you can say human rights. Okay, can you see how we brainstorm the ideas from below? Yeah, so Quackerwood challenges the issue of racial discrimination, or you can say challenges the issue of social inequality, or you can say discusses the national issue of human rights. It doesn't matter how you say it, right? As long as you can do that. Remember, A does B through. Good. So A does B. So Quackerwood challenges something, right? So Quackerwood does B through C. How does he do it through? He does it through. So Quackerwood challenges the issue of racial discrimination, for example, through imagery, structure, and symbolism. So these are just the three types that we've learned already. To what? To we can say what is the purpose of the text? The purpose is to perhaps we can say is to realize the social inequality existent in society currently. Okay, so you can say Quackerwood does this to realize the social inequalities that is currently happening in society, right? So she's just revealing something that's already happening. Wow, that's a lot. You don't have to, when you do A does B through C, C is the techniques, right? It doesn't have to be listed out like imagery, structure, and symbolism. You can say an overarching theme, which is Quackerwood challenges the issue of racial discrimination through the use of, we can say, controversial language or something, through the use of discriminatory language to realize the racism in society or something. Okay, and remember D is the effect on the audience. Does it make sense so far, Sergi and Isaac? Yeah, Sergi, does it make sense? It's a bit complicated, right, so far? But this would form your thesis statement, right, for your whole essay. For example, we said imagery, structure, and symbolism. Now what can we do? So I'm going to delete this bit. Now you have already 3 paragraphs. Paragraph 1 would be, yes, Harry? I said that for you. It doesn't have to be like that, okay? So this would be for your thesis statement. When you're doing a peel paragraph, you can also use A does B through C to do D, but it doesn't have to be that succinct, okay? It can be a bit chiller. What I mean by that is, give me a sec, structure and symbolism. So now, does it make sense? You have 3 peel paragraphs, 3 body paragraphs that you can talk about. Imagery, structure, symbolism. You only need 2, that's fine. But for general, you'd use 3, and then you conclude. So for imagery, how would we do this? I'm going to talk about structure because we use structure first. We can say we can talk about the structure of rhyme scheme. It uses rhyming couplets. Yeah, it uses AABBCC rhyme scheme. What else does it use? It uses very short and harsh. We don't have to say harsh, but short and blunt writing, diction, right? And these can be our main points. So when I say use A does B through C to D for pure paragraphs, it doesn't have to be as succinct as the first thesis statement for your introduction, right? You can say something very simple. So Quakerwood demonstrates, or Quakerwood discusses racism through the poetic structure demonstrated in rhyming couplets, rhyme scheme, and diction. Okay, so you can see how I used all I've written below, and then you can start. When you start off, you need to talk about the definition. Rhyming couplets are, you can do that at the end. Okay, so I don't want to be too repetitive. Okay, rhyming couplets are, what are they? Okay, and then you can say this is seen in, where is the scene? Okay, and then finally, what does this do? In doing so, Quaker would effectively, what? So now we say the D. So what is the effect? Displays to the audience the tone of the matter, which is very serious, right? Something like that. Oh, sorry. Serious. Okay. And then you would go on A. Yes, don't worry. So A, B, B, C, C. Give me one more minute and we're done. So Quaker would also discusses the matter through, oh, sorry, I don't know how this happens, through AABBCC rhyme scheme seen in Okay, does that make sense, guys? So this is the kind of formula that you'd use, and this would be effective. We call this a scaffold. A scaffold is a plan. Okay, does it make sense so far for all of you guys? And that's how you would analyze it. 5 minutes analyzing this, and it's been around 10 minutes so far since recording, and we basically have every structure ready. Okay, I'm going to end the recording here.